Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Going Over podcast. We keep on doing it, Paul. It is 6:15 a.m. in the morning. We are back on track. You might be on track, but the man that says he's your neighborhood friendly coach, trainer, promoter, and 44-year-old professional wrestler, Zack Primetime Reeb, is very, very tired, and we're coming we're coming off of it, man. You're probably going to hear, I saw a lot of people posting, you're going to hear it before I get going. Also, there he is, my podcast partner, the 7-foot wrecking ball, Paul Isadora. Sorry for the intro, Paul. I got a lot on my mind, and I'm also very tired. We got training today, and then I'm probably going to end up having to watch the Super Bowl somewhere. Whew. How are you doing, sir?
Oh, doing good, man. So work schedule changed, so back to the Sunday mornings. So you're not going to be complaining about having to go through an entire day and be full of negativity at the end of the day. Hopefully, we're just going to be coming off the heels of wrestling shows first thing in the morning again on Sundays, and hopefully, we'll be filled with positivity. So, what it sounds like, just looking from pictures and some of the videos that I saw, looks like it was a packed house at Pacheco Square Gardens last night for the NorCal United. So, yeah, talk a little bit about that.
Oh, good experience, man. There's one thing that I truly enjoy now in life is when your team is there, right? When you have a team and your team gets to experience all this stuff. Some really cool things, Arsonist, Don Stockton, Manny Roa. Someone didn't show up, and Propane got on. You know, Annabelle and Brandon were there. Ethan Reno, Michelle Reno, the team. You just look around, and you see your team, man. Manny Roa, and that's the coolest part about it is when you have your team and seeing everybody, man. You get to see all these guys that you just haven't seen in a while. The locker room and the building, I think at one point, because of how many wrestlers and promoters and everything else that was there, it got real musty. You know what I mean? Like that was the thing. Maynard came back and said, Febreze. He said, I got one word, Febreze. And I'm just like, oh, yeah, Febreze, huh? Well, I got this cinnamon sugar pretzel cookie hydration body lotion that I'm rubbing all over my body now. So it ain't me. So when I'm sitting over here in the corner, I'm attracting people because I smell like fresh cinnamon rolls. And I don't think there's anything wrong with smelling like fresh cinnamon rolls. But I mean, it was just a good experience, man. And to get me out of the way, to get me out of the way selfishly, it's like I can't think ugly enough. 10 years ago, it was the Hall of Fame, and I was going through a divorce at the time, and it was me and Tim Thatcher. Sparky had set it up in Pacifica, and that was the bucket list, right? Like we talk about the bucket list, and I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you. I'm gonna be very transparent with you, Paul. I had one name on my bucket list. One. That's it. Another match with Oliver John would be great. Me and you when we finally do it again. These are all great things, but I had one bucket list item left, and I got to come back and do it, and I got the white whale. I said it right in that Tom Dickinson's Predator like camera when I came out. The only thing I had to say was white whale. Tim Thatcher is my white whale. He's the he's the bucket list, man. He was the one guy I wanted to work, and I've never got to do a 100% wrestling on the mat. We're talking no strikes except my final kick. We're talking no corner hits, no reversals. No bumps, no rope running, no forearms, chops, nothing like this. A 100% in the ring, struggling, what we talk about, wrestling classic, man. And I watched the video. It's one of those nights where you do something and you do it with such a good, just such a professional, right? You do it with such a professional who's the best at it. And you do it with him and you do it well. But then when it's over, you're seeking not validation, you're seeking critique from all these amazing people that are around and your peers that you don't get to see a lot, because you go, man, I want to be better at this. At my age, I want to be better at this. So for me, white whaled it, man. And Tim is such a professional. Great night. When you have a great night, you don't have to bump a lot, and some dipshit doesn't forearm you in the side of your temple or bust your mouth open, because I saw a lot of that. So there was just thank you, Tim Thatcher. Thank you, Big Ugly. Thank you for giving me that. There's no money in the world I could have asked for in that situation, because that was priceless. You know what I mean? And we talk about it all the time. If you're somebody in the business, I was talking to, I think, Boyce and Kareen about it, and you're like, I need another 20, or you're like, I get the $50 or the $100 or whatever. But in reality, which is cool to have the money, me and you talk about it, but if that $50 is a make or break on the PG&E bill, or what you got to give grandma to live in the basement, if that's the make or break, you need to reevaluate your life, man. Because a lot of times it's like, man, what an honor. And you can say I sound like a mark. What an honor it was to show up, get my guys on the show, and be able on that platform in front of my peers and old school, fans, to be able to go out there and show that, hey, man, I can do this too. Not just this little pro wrestling thing we do. And I found it interesting, and I want you to talk about this real quick. I'm gonna feed it back over to you. I got a lot to talk about. Sorry, I'll shut the fuck up. I always tell people that. I always tell my students that when I get going. So we talk about running ropes. We talk about hitting corners. We talk about the strikes. I gotta chop these guys to get that reaction from them. I gotta do this. I gotta go to the top rope. I gotta do a dive out. I gotta bump, right? We gotta take some bumps. We have to. So like these 6 or 7 things I'm talking about, we did none of them, right? All these things are what everybody does or has to do to get through what they believe, or if it is an entertaining wrestling match. So what do you think when you peel all that back? You peel back running the ropes and hitting the corners, and 2 guys lock up and get in the center of the ring without touching the ropes. What do you think about the challenge as a wrestler to go out there and say, hey, we're going to stay in the center of the ring and we're going to try to pull this off, and we're going to eliminate most of those things I talked about?
Right. I mean, and I feel like we've talked about that in the past, just about how how you can challenge yourself to do those things. We talked about that one, the match where the rope broke with Illumine and I don't know if it was Surza. Yeah. So, and I had just ironically had talked to those guys before that match just about, have you ever thought about doing a match without hitting the ropes, or things, eliminating something off of the plate, off of the options list, to to try to make the match more difficult for yourself and challenge yourself to do something special, because I think that's what makes you a better pro wrestler, is if you're able to do those things, if you're able to make those adaptations, if you have the ability in your mind to, we want to be able to kind of work on the fly. We want to be able to do things by reaction. We don't want to do things just because we choreographed it in the back and this is what we planned on doing. We have a game plan in general of what we're trying to do as far as storytelling, but what is the what challenges are we going to give ourselves? I've talked in the past about trying to do matches without throwing a punch or not throwing the same strike twice, things like that. It's those little, I think about when I was playing basketball, and when you get to the point where uh, you're really good and you want to challenge yourself to do something more. And I think about the story when Larry Bird decided he was going to play left-handed one game. It's the game within the game. So I remember playing in men's league. After you play Division One basketball and then you play professionally, you're playing men's league because you love playing basketball, and you talk about doing things um, not because of the money, but because of you love something, and and it's things like that. So for me, it was like playing in men's league, and we knew we were going to dominate everybody. So then it's like, okay, well, let's see who can. For me, it was like, let's see who can get the most dunks in a game between me and a teammate. So it challenged you to try to get to the rim and dunk everything, right? You weren't going to settle for a jump shot. You weren't going to settle for a pull up. You were going to try to get all the way to the rim and dunk the ball. So, in the pro wrestling situation, that's one of those things. Like, hey, can I do this wrestling match without hitting the ropes? Can I do this wrestling match without hitting the corners? Can I do this wrestling match without throwing a strike? Can I bring it back to the root of this sport, which is wrestling? Can I put on a match where it is just a struggle? What we talk about all the time is like, normally we talk about this as, as the beginning of your wrestling match is the struggle. Who's going to be more dominant? Can I gain control? Can I keep control? Things like that. So, being able to do that is just a special talent. And I think people need to, not that you're throwing out a challenge that, hey, top this, but just an example, and I remember, obviously Timothy Thatcher was involved, and it was Tim and Oliver John, working a headlock for, 10, 12, 15. I don't know. Like, I feel like the story has, taken on a life of its own. I don't know how many minutes it was, but these two guys worked a headlock the entire match. And that was their goal. It's like, we're going to tell this story that I'm trying to keep this headlock and I'm trying to get out of this headlock. Right. So, not like like I said, you're not like you're laying out a challenge, but I think it is something that if somebody watches that match, they go, hey, I'm going to try to see how long throughout a wrestling match I can keep just the struggle going on of just wrestling, right? I'm not going to throw punches. I'm not going to throw strikes. I'm not going to do any of that stuff. I'm going to treat this like a wrestling match, like an amateur wrestling style, trading holds and trying to gain the advantage and keep the advantage, things like that. So I think it's impressive. Obviously you're excited about it, but I think you're definitely underplaying the that ability to be able to do something like that. And obviously, Thatcher is the ultimate professional, and skilled when it comes to doing that type of stuff, and that's what sets him apart from everybody else is that type of style. So be able to go in there and take advantage of that opportunity to challenge yourself to have that type of match, I think is awesome. And I'll touch on a few other things you talked about. You talked about traveling with the family, right? Having your group, your crew, and I think it's like all related to basketball. With a lot of people get frustrated when people an away crowd they travel well. They say oh, this team travels well, right? They bring their fan base. And I know a lot of people get frustrated with that, with, oh, the other team's crowd is so into this game. And I think it's just something special where you're able to bring your own crew and have your support system there for you, not only in a support role while you're wrestling, but for a true after the fact critique of what you did well and what you need to work on, when everybody else is just patting you on the back, telling you, "Oh, how great your match was." I'm glad that you have people with you that are willing to say, "Hey, yeah, it was all great, but here's what I think you could have done better." So I think that those things are special as well. And then obviously get into the point where it's not about how much you're getting paid. It's about what type of experiences you're able to have, and being able to kind of check something off your bucket list. I think uh, is extremely special. If you're able to say, "Hey, man, I have this one guy that I just really want to wrestle," and it doesn't matter what the payout is. Obviously this happens, not too far from home, and it's not like you're traveling cross country to get this match and expecting nothing in return. But I think it's really cool to see. A lot of these matches obviously were never seen before, and special, maybe one-off type of things, and maybe it's something that sets up for something down the road where other people get to see this match again somewhere else. Go ahead.
Well, you say maybe, and I'm here. There's no maybes about the learning experience and anything that happened, because it was experience. You know what I mean? Through it all, like I said, there's so much to talk about. The priceless. It's priceless. There's not an amount of money that you can put on the experience that you learn as a true professional. The passion that I have. I was talking to Drake Frost, which I was telling Bobby Bayou last night. I was like, watch him.
Right.
I was like, watching. He's like, oh, I watch him all the time. I said, and it's the typical line that people tell about Shawn Michaels or Bret Hart. I'm like, no, don't watch his moves. Watch
Right.
what he does after he hits his move. Watch what he does when he's standing there looking at you. And, it was the best advice also that I got from Manny Roa, man, was the best critique I got last night, because I want it. I want the critique at my age. I want to get better, man. This is something I wanted to do. I want to get better at it. And I looked at Manny and I was like, and Manny looked at me and I said, come here. And he's like, okay. And everyone's watching the show, and he walks over to by the garbage can, of all places, the big garbage can out there out front, to give me the best advice I've ever heard, which I'm going to go to him every time now. And I get a lot of good critique. Arsonist gave me some good critique, but Manny said, it was great. You kind of had the same facial expression on your face the whole time. And he was just, the way he was working it, the way his eyes lit up, the way he would get control of me, and he would, and hit, and my reaction, my selling reaction, was great, because he gave me a reason to breathe and sell and all this stuff. But Manny pointed something out to me, which is what I point out to students and guys I critique all the time, was the facial expression thing, right? So, and I believe, man, like, man, I'm telling you, I think what I did, we talked about the Oliver John Tim Thatcher thing. I think and it was its own thing, because it was on the arm, but then it was so much, man. What I loved about it was, no matter what we're doing, we're not isolating a certain body part all the time. We are going after the actual body part, wherever it is that's open, and whatever we can transition into. And there's no speed to it. But like when Manny pointed out, I'm like, yeah, man, now I got something to really sink my teeth into this late into my career and work on. So some other things I noticed too, because I got a lot I wanted to get into, so I'm going to speed it up so you can get on this topic. So two things in the battle Royal Rumble, right? First thing was, Bad News Blakesley was never got in the ring, and he did his best work as the Guardian on the outside. I mean, because he's not in the ring to be able to do all the stupid bumps or So he's standing here on the floor, and it was the greatest performance I've seen by a big man. And one thing I told him was, I'm like, fuck, man. I'm like, I should have just put you on the outside of the ring the whole time. Because when you get in the ring, you start trying to do stupid pro wrestling stuff. And when you're on the outside of the ring where it's on the concrete floor, you just turn into this dominating 500-pound monster. You know what I mean? So, and it's like Maynard always goes, I'm not putting the jacks under the ring for you to get in there. And it's like, man, Bad News, take that as a badge of honor that these promoters think you're so big that they're literally like, we got to put jack stands under the ring so it doesn't bounce. I can't let you in my wrestling ring because I think you're going to break it. I'm like, brother, there's not anybody that can pick your ass up. So for Bad News, I thought that was very valuable for him. And one thing is, I told the guy that won the Rumble. So at the end, he clotheslines the final guy over the top rope. And then he does it with he's so excited, and he does it with so much momentum that he flies over the top rope. And I am pretty sure I got in a little argument with Boyce. It wasn't like a heated argument, but I was like, he hit the ground before the guy who he was supposed to eliminate. And when he came back through the curtain, I said, hey, man, and I think this is very important. I said, hey, 31 other people drove out all this way to be a part of this first match that weren't winning. You had the honor of being the inaugural winner. I said, you had one job, and your job wasn't even to job. It was to fucking win. And his chest is exploded from all these chops, and it's literally bleeding. And he took a German suplex, and I saw how high he hit up on his head, and his mouth is bleeding everywhere in a Rumble. So his chest is exploded open. There is this massive handprint. It's bleeding everywhere. And his mouth is bleeding from a German suplex. Think about what I just said there, okay? And I said, at the end of the day, you're the winner. And in reality, I felt like you didn't really win. I felt like the other guy should have won, or should have gone to some controversial thing, Bret Hart, Lex Luger, whatever, because I feel he hit the ground first. And it just made me think, like, your job wasn't even to lose or put somebody over. Your job, out of 31 other guys, hungry wrestlers, was to win. And you sucked at winning. You know what I mean? It's like, and I'm not trying to be mean. It was just like, that was right out the gate. That was, from Bad News not being allowed to get in the ring, and the performance, which he did a great job at what Ugly had set up for what that Guardian job was on the outside. And the horn goes off after the 5 competitors. They fight. Whoever doesn't make it back in the ring in a minute. But I was like, Bad News didn't get in the ring. Here's this 500-pound guy who didn't get in the ring and went out there and executed what his job was going to be. Told, you're not even getting in the ring. You're standing in front of the ring and working for 10, 15 minutes. And then you get this guy who's going over. And he literally did go over. Instead of clotheslining the guy over the top rope and the guy goes to the floor and you're standing in the ring with your arms high as the winner, you clothesline him and you go over faster than he goes over backwards. And I'm pretty sure you hit the floor first. And I'm just like, dude, I'm just pointing this stuff out, man. This is no knock at anybody as a person or anything else. If I don't talk about this type of stuff and I'm not clear to these young guys about this type of stuff, then what the fuck am I really doing? Sugarcoating, going, hey, great job, kid. Good job, man. Wait. No, that match sets the tone. Ugly said that match sets the tone. He had 32 people show up, which I was there too. 32 people show up an hour early to go over this match he created, which is on number 1, which went 1 hour. And it's like, you're the guy winning, man. I can't stress this enough because it didn't piss me off like I'm angry, in the conversation I had with him. Didn't piss me off because I was angry. It's just like, guys, you are given, you're not just here to execute, right? You're not here to execute. Promoter's telling you what he wants from you. But if the promoter's telling you, and this goes to any wrestler out there, any young guy, anybody, if the guy goes, hey, you're winning, you're going over on 31 other guys in an inaugural thing, even if it's a tournament for the championship, and you're winning, not putting somebody over, you're winning, and you don't even win well, that's not good, man. Jump in on this, man, because I could literally talk about that moment, and I want to move on, but I could talk about that moment all day long. Is like, man, if you're gonna win, at least win well. You know what I mean? So,
well, obviously, when you're talking about that, the first thing that came to my mind was the Batista John Cena when they went out simultaneously, and realistically landed on the floor at the same time. And then you're having some sort of controversy about that. But I guess, winning a Rumble, obviously, it's a nice little honor, right? You get to, someone say, hey, I think you're the guy that I'm choosing, right? You're the guy that I'm going to put this accomplishment on your shoulders. And I don't know about the, I think you can get your ass kicked in a Rumble if you're winning, as long as you have the underdog type, victory, right? You battle back and you end up winning. But so obviously I didn't see it, but I can just imagine, like, you're so hyped up that you're clotheslining a guy over, and your own momentum throws you over the top as well. So it's, I don't know, man. I guess sometimes you try to do too much, right? And I think it happens all the time, especially in pro wrestling, when you want to put a lot of energy into things. I've talked about we're talking about strong style wrestling, and hey, dude, it's still a fucking work, right? Just because we're working strong style doesn't mean you have to fucking kick me or hit me as hard as you can or anything like that. So I think sometimes that gets confused, right? You can be a quote unquote hard hitting pro wrestler without fucking hurting people. So I don't know. I think it's one of those deals, like, where you have to understand what's going on, and the goal is we're trying to keep each other safe, and obviously in this case the goal is you need to win this thing, and you need to look a certain way as you're winning. But I just think it's funny that you're like, you didn't even win well. So
I don't even think you got to win,
right?
Like, this is your moment. This is your moment. The promoter has selected you to any company and anything. The promoter has selected you and said, hey, you're the guy. Win well. If you obviously you didn't plan on going over the top rope, but I always say it. We were talking about Kate Adams, and I tell people all the time, you don't want to. Here's the thing, and like I said, I mean this. This is just educational, and I have to say this because if I don't say this, I do give a fuck. You know what I mean? I say a lot of things to people that maybe they think I don't give a fuck, but I care about feelings, especially this one person. But I'm sitting here and I'm like, you're winning this thing. This isn't a controversial finish or anything. So you're winning this thing. You want to be standing, whether you're selling or not, you want to be in the center of the stage. Oh, the little baby face is upset the heel, right? He wants to roll out. Oh my God, I can't believe I won. I need to get out of here. Oh, you get the reaction. He's gone. You leave the center stage for the heel to get the heat back, or whatever you're going to do. I always tell people, they're like, oh, I'm going to do that. Get back in the ring. End it right here. It's a big rumble. So you're going to win that. You don't want, when you clothesline over the top rope, you don't want it, whether you hit the floor before the guy who's not supposed to win or not. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you don't want to be on the ground in the entryway getting your arm raised and have to get back in the ring so the rest of the people can see you, because they didn't see you. Like, that might be some of the saving grace of it, is when you went over the top rope, a lot of people didn't see it because they're out this way. These people probably saw it right here, right in the front on the entryway, but a lot of people probably didn't see it because of that. But what I'm saying is, it's this big moment. It's an inaugural Royal Rumble, Street Fight Royal Rumble. You line the guy over the top. If you're athletic and you have it planned and you want to skin the cat back in or something, yeah. But either way, if you're not in that ring to get your arm raised for the fans to see, and you're on the floor, especially with the feeling of like, oh fuck, I fucked up tumbling over the top like this. So, accidents happen. I get it. It was just something I saw, and I was telling him, and it's just something I think everybody needs to really, really understand. Like, Ugly's putting this on, and he's got all these different promotions. I think Samurai posted and counted. He said 14 different promotions in Northern California were represented in this thing, which was really cool. It was cool to see Charisma from Revolution. I had a great conversation with her, and she asked about watching her match, and I'm like, well, it's all recorded, so I'll watch it. And she's like, I'll hit you up, and I want some critique, please. And I'm like, no problem. When I went into the ladies' room over there, the ladies' locker room, which was a bedroom, I thought, and that was funny in my head, and is like, but it was like, because somebody lives there, right? So I was sitting there, and I was like, maybe that's not the locker room. Like, if there's a lady who hasn't been to East Bay Pro yet, and they're like, this is your guys' locker room, and I think it said on the door in like don't let the cats out. And I thought they were referring to women, like vagina, but no, there were two cats in the room, because it's got a shower and a bed and all that. I was just thinking, like, if nobody knows, if a female's never worked there, and they're like, hey, here's your locker room, and the door says, don't let the cats out, I thought it was referring to women as cats, but it literally was referring to fucking two cats that were in the room, and there's a bed and a shower and everything. In my mind, I'm like, could you imagine being a woman and be like, this is your locker room, and you look at the door and it said, don't let the cats out, and then you open the door to the locker room and there's a bed and everything. You're like, what the fuck is going on in here? Is this pro wrestling, or is like, that was what was circulating through my head. But no, I went in there to change, and Beatrice Domino was in there, and she's like, Zack, I haven't seen you in a while. And I'm like, it was just really cool, because you're having these conversations with these people that you see very seldom in the business, but you leave they leave an impact on you, and you leave an impact on them, and they really do. When they see you, like, oh man, I haven't seen you in so long. So you think about the camaraderie, and I think, like, I hadn't seen Lena Gonzalez, the ring announcer, in a long time, and her daughter's all grown up, and me and her had a great conversation, and there was a lot of great conversations that was had. I think the coolest thing of the night was, so Maximilian from APW, man, he kept hitting me up. He's like, I need you to come out to your old entrance theme. Welcome to Detroit City, Eminem. And I was like, all right, cool. I said, where? He's like, I'm at Golden Corral right now. And I said, okay. I said, put me some steak in a cup and bring it to me. And then, yeah. And he's like, oh, I can't. People are looking at me. I said, well, they're not looking at you when you sit back down. So I'm in the locker room, and I had a real good conversation with Joe DeSoul. Love that guy. And I'm in the locker room, and he comes up and he hands me this icy cup with a paper towel over it. And I'm like, what's this? He goes, Zack, it's from Max out there, the fan. And I open it up, and I'm like, oh, hell yeah. 3 pieces of fucking tender ass ribeye steak with some pork loaf and everything. I took that little cup over to my bag. So thank you, Max, for that. Thank you, Ugly, Oliver John, Tim Thatcher. You're the best in the world. It was a great night, man. And those are some things we pointed out, and some other things that I wanted to point out too. I was watching the finish to the main, and Karina was a little salty at it because it's a regular match and they put a chair in the ring, and then Karina was like, it's a DQ. I was trying to tell him it's a DQ to put the chair in the ring, and I'm like, well, it's not a DQ to bring the chair in the ring. It's a DQ to use the chair. And they used the chair. And then there was a run in and someone grabbed Karina's leg to stop the 3 count. And that's what the DQ was. So I just think sometimes when you're putting stuff together, you know what I mean? Like like I was talking about with the finish of the Battle Royal, shit happens. And then this is the main event and something goes on. So wrestling has so many vehicles and moving parts that it's so easy to miss something or be off in your time. It's so easy to be distracted by somebody backstage. You're like, look, I got my spot right here, and the fucking guy who's doing this or doing that could be talking to you. And if you're off a split second, it's a game of timing. But I don't envy Big Ugly for that situation, to be honest with you, because that's a tough one, man. You got 32 guys in a Rumble. You got all these matches. A lot of these guys are very humble, but they're, Kratos is coming out of NWA. Thatcher works the ID. You got all this talent everywhere, man. To everyone, it's a big deal. So you got a lot of guys. When I'm in the locker room looking over at Oliver John and he's smiling at me, you got a lot of moving parts going on and going around. And everybody wants to put on a great performance. And you're not just putting on a performance for the 113 plus fans that are there. You're putting on a performance for the promoters and your peers. And that, to me, is the coolest part of it all, is that you get to wrestle in front of all the people that, whether you guys are best friends or not, all the people you care about, man. So very good locker room. And after the Battle Royal, it's like, then people start to move around and you can finally fucking spread your legs and let your balls hang a little bit,
I was going to say that about the Battle Royal, man. I think just in general, you have the promoter giving you instruction, and they're laying out their vision of what they want to happen. And it's definitely happened to me in the past where it's like, hey, we want you to go in there and be dominant and stuff like that. And to me, dominant is maybe 70-30 type. Like, oh, I just want you to get the majority of the offense. But in some cases, like, no, I want you to be 95-5 or something like that. Like, don't take anything, don't take any offense from anybody else. And so trying to get on the same page sometime as the promoter is a little difficult, especially when you have so many moving parts and so many people involved. It's like, what is your view of something might be a little bit different than someone else's, and that might be a little bit different than the promoter. So I think that just reinforces the importance of having those conversations and asking someone exactly what they're looking for. You had mentioned last time with the Kate Adams and Kid Carson, the vision that you had for what you thought should happen, and it sounded like it got conveyed pretty clearly, because it went down exactly the way that it was envisioned. I think that's important, man. It's like, you can't be afraid to ask the promoter, like, hey, you said this, is this what you meant by that? Or explain a little bit more in detail. So, so everybody knows exactly what's supposed to happen and exactly what the promoter's vision is on what needs to happen in a certain scenario. So there's no confusion, right? So, go ahead.
No, sorry, man. I keep going because I thought something just hit my mind to have. There was a lot of funny stuff there was a lot of great stuff, man. But some guy came in the locker room and he brought in 2 cases of what I thought was like coffee, right? I thought it was like cold coffee in a can, like it was and I asked Bishop, I'm like, hey, what is that? And Min Manny was right there, and they're like, oh, not for you, man. And it was Pale Yale, right? It was all these cans of Pale Yale, and they're opening up the igloo, and he's got a bag of ice, and the promo's going on, so we got to be quiet. And he's like, this guy standing here awkwardly waiting and I'm like, where's the fucking water? Like, welcome to East Bay Pro. They're opening up the ice chest to fill it up with fucking cans of Pale Yale fucking lager. Like that's good, I guess. Can we get a little hydration up in this motherfucker? And then there was a big chocolate cake that nobody had touched yet. And Marcus Lewis is right there, comes up to me and goes, I'm gonna fuck that cake up here in a minute. And I go, man, nobody's touched it yet. I said, you got the no water in the ice chest. They filled it up with the loggers. I said, look at all that, as that cake is just dripping with THC chocolate frosting. And he goes, what? And Boyce is right there, and he goes, what? And I go, yeah, man. He goes, no, Zach, I'm being serious right now. Like, I don't do that. And I'm like, you don't do what? You don't drink alcohol? And he's like, no, the THC. He's like, I don't do that shit. And I go, oh. I'm like, well, He's like, are you fucking with me right now? And it became this thing. And he's like, I'm like, hey, man, I'm just saying, bro. I'm just saying. So I had him believing that there was THC frosting just dripping, chocolate frosting dripping off that. There's alcohol in the thing. I'm trying to get people to shotgun a couple before who's going to be the guy? Who's going to be the young kid that I can talk into shotgunning a couple fucking heavy dark loggers before the thing, man. Just a lot of great stuff. And the thing, I just feel like it's such a, I'm wearing it, I had my PCW shirt on. Ugly handed me this when I got there. Immediately I took off my PCW shirt because I got this, right? It was given to me right away. So it wasn't like wait until the end of the night. Like he handed it to me right away. And I know you've been working and everything else, but it's just really cool, like I said, to be there with Ollie, to be a part of what Ugly's doing, because who would try this, right? Who would try to create this crazy seminar and then to do this show like this, and then to talk about next time we're going to do the seminar and the show? And I remember when he first brought it to me and was talking to me about it, he was like, man, and he was explaining it to me, and I'm like, yeah, cool, throw me down. But you had a show, right? So we had a show to do up there, and it was just this crazy idea, this seminar, and he talked about the show at the end. So I just think it's so cool because he's done the NorCal United seminar with the 3 rings at the Elk Grove soccer place where SPW runs out of. But then now he's done the show. So he's done this idea he's had. He did the seminar, that went well. Now he's done the show, and this has gone well. And now it's like, okay, I've done both now. Now we're going to try to merge the two together in one night or maybe a weekend, which I'm thinking you're going to have to do it in one night with all the guys that you're trying to get to this thing. But it's like, man, I'm excited to see the third step to this process, man. Like, wow, there's going to be a seminar for the majority of the day, and then you're going to go into a wrestling show that night, which that's a lot, man. That's a lot. And I feel like he's starting to really get a good team and build his staff up of trainers and students. You know what I mean? Like, I've seen those guys, man. The Jules Raphael, Bishop, got Bobby and Brian and Tim and this kid Joseph and Harriet, and there's just I probably left some people out, but there's just so many people, and like Michelle Rado's helping with tickets, and she brings a couple people to help with the ticket. It's just I say it all the time. It's just such a cool team, and it's cool. It's cool to be a part of the team, man. And that's how I feel about the whole thing. I feel like I'm part of a team. I feel like I'm part of your team. I got my own team. I feel like I'm part of Ugly's team. I feel like I'm starting to really it feels good. It feels good to be where I'm at and actually be a part of all this stuff and not just showing up to watch, but actually be a part of it and have people ask my opinion or watch what I'm doing. That was the coolest part, is that everybody gets to watch what you're doing. So you preach all this stuff, and then you're like, hey, this is how I do it. And then Ugly and Boyce went out there and it's like, hey, this is how we do it. You know what I mean? So, and then Journey and JR had a really good, like it was really good. Like I think at the start they went up to each other and Journey hit him with one of those in the face. And JR, I think for like 2 or 3 minutes, sold that one shot, that one uppercut to the face at the start of the match, and sold it very well. So there was just a lot of good stuff, man. I'm really excited about everything. So I just wanted to, like I said, I can't say thank you enough for just being a part of this, because to put something like that together, even if it's a seminar the first time and then now this type of a show, like I said at the start of this, I don't envy having to work with that much talent to put this show together in such a tight space, which you got to love Maynard, right? Like he's just such, well, if you don't know Tim, you get, he's a taste you got to learn to love, man, because Tim is great, but Tim don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? Like there's a huge difference in going to Tim's house and then being in John Cooper's house. You know what I mean? Like love both those guys to death. I have a close relationship with them both, but like here's one guy who's like, hey man, this place is going to remain spick and span. Don't do nothing stupid. Show's over. Let's get the fuck out of here. Get out of my way. And then there's this guy who's just like, fuck yeah, man. Let's fucking rock out. Hey, get some Febreze in here, you stinky bastards. Oh, you spilled shit all over that. Clean it up, you dirt. You know what I mean? Like just the differences in these two guys. And then Tim, he's been running in that building at that rent's not cheap. He's been running there for 12 consistent years. So I mean, you gotta fucking applaud that, man. That's steady paying the rent and the water and the trash and the electric. So over a decade of doing that, that's a fucking success, man. So just a lot of good things. And you go ahead and take the last 12 minutes. I'm gonna
well, I'm not gonna take 12 minutes. But I think it's something special that this has been something that's people have talked about for, I feel like, 2 decades. Is getting everyone on the same page and everyone working together and creating a community effort. Different wrestlers from different promotions all on one show and seamlessly working together. It's been the pipe dream, I think, for a lot of people for a long time, and it's awesome to see that Ugly is kind of spearheading this and involving so many different people who are on board. That people are like, oh yeah, I want to be a part of that, because I think people are starting to see it. I don't know if it's just now that we're getting older and more mature that I think in so many cases it's just the you stop being petty and stop going, hey, screw these guys and screw these guys. They're, if you're not with us, you're against us type of mentality. Understanding that just because somebody else is eating doesn't mean that my plate is less full or anything like that. So I definitely think that's it's something exciting moving forward, and you got to think about as you're talking about this, I'm thinking about like what type of venue houses something like this where, and I don't know, man, I'm just envisioning the logistics. If you do that again, if you do 3 rings, like how big does this space need to be that you're going to have the 3 rings, and then do you have one ring that is the main ring, and you break the other 2 rings down and put them away before the show starts, where you're going to start having fans come in, or do you have the other 2 rings in an area where you keep them built and you just hide them, or what do you do? I'm thinking
3
about
matches one time.
there it is. There it is. Yeah, like the fans choose which match to watch, right? So
they're all going on. It's like
right.
one big war games with no cages around them.
That's it, man. So, but I think it's exciting to see that. I think you see a lot of shows that have a lot of people from different promotions, but to have 14 promotions represented on one show is pretty special, I think.
Pause right there. Gotcha.
That's it, man.
Yeah,
you get me.
Yeah, it is, man. This is I mean, what else could you ask for, man? It's you want to unite NorCal. That's what this podcast today was about. We're directly coming off the experience, but when this airs, today is the Super Bowl. I still have training. I have slept 2.5 hours. It was the ride home. Propane, Ethan meet here. We get in my truck. We drive down to Bad News's. We meet up at Bad News's. We head down to Pacheco. We do this amazing day and night. We all go out and break bread at a Mountain Mike's, and then you get back in Bad News's car and you drive back to Zack, and then everybody gets out at midnight or so and transfers over to my truck and got to defrost the windows because it's cold, and we drive back here and we get here and I'm tired. You drop Reno off, you get here, and then Propane and the kid hop in there, and they still got a 30-40 minute drive to go home. And you know what the best part about it all is after a night like this? Like the dudes, Don Stockton and Arsonist, they got to go back to Red Bluff. So where we have an hour and 10-minute drive to Sacramento and then a 45-minute drive home, and then Propane's got another 40-minute drive there, the dudes have to go back to Zack, and then they got to go to Yuba City, and then they got to go all the way back to Red Bluff, which is, if Propane's got 40 minutes at the end to get back to Orville, they got another hour and a half past that to get to Red Bluff. And everybody goes, hell yeah, training tomorrow. And the funny thing is, even though it's more than, everyone's like, you're dropping everybody off and everyone's leaving, and everyone's like, see you in a couple hours. And you're just like, I'm not telling them there's training tomorrow. I'm not telling them I'll see them in a couple hours. Everyone's just like, see you in a couple hours, coach. And you're just like, and it's funny to hear a lot of people refer to me as coach too. You know what I mean? Because I consider them like friends. So when you're sitting there and they're like, coach, and you're just like, oh man, that's how I know I'm getting old. When you're talking to promoters about granddaughters and young wrestlers and who's talking to who and stuff like this, you're like, man, I'm old. We're old, man.
That's it, man.
Walked in the building and Maynard was like, yeah. He like immediately is handing down a walker. He's like, hey, Prime Time, you think you need this to get around tonight? And I'm like, fuck off. You know what I mean? But I'm like, yeah, hand it down. And he's like, I think you're next in line. I think I'm the oldest and you're right behind me. And I'm like, no, Ugly's getting up there too. And he's like, well, how old is he? And I'm like, a lot younger than you. And he's like, so it goes me, him, and you. I'm like, hey, bro, get out of here. You're making me feel older than I need to feel. I'm like, I'm only 44, dude. You want to be on the podcast? You listen to the podcast? Oh no, he does want to be on the podcast. And I said, I'm going to talk to Paul. He handles the StreamYard. So I'm putting the business right out there. A very controversial podcast. Maynard Skinner, Tim Bartlett on the show. Let's go.
Oh, we got to get him on there. We got to ask him how he made this thing happen for 12 years already in one building.
Yeah, we got to get him on here. We also got to get Ugly on here so we can get his recap of everything. I really want to figure this out, and I guess we're setting it up on here, but I really want to figure it out where maybe we can get Ugly, and then we can get Tim, and then we can get like Ollie, so we can get like a real breakdown of this thing and what they thought, man. Because I mean, this is just coming from, this is like my visual of what I saw. You know what I mean?
Right.
Who I talked to. This is my experience. So I thought it was really, it was a great experience. Like, those things can make or break the rest of your day. Like, you're driving down there and you're like, and then the ride home, you're just like nothing can phase you. You know what I mean? You're just looking at everybody talking and you're just like this whole time. They're like, are you stoned? I'm like, no, I don't smoke, man. I'm just fucking tired. I'm excited and I'm happy. I'm just really happy about this, and that being happy can change anything, right? Being happy changes just that mood, that feeling, that emotion. So sorry I rambled so much today, Paul. I'm coming off this experience. I'm coming off of it. But yeah, I wish you were there, man. I wish you were there, and hopefully your weekends are opening up a little bit now. But like I said, that's the daunting task of running a promotion and being part of these things. Is like, you got 4 daughters, you got a wife, you're coaching basketball, your daughter's on a basketball. You got a lot going on, man. So finding the time to mix, you like, fear of missing out, bro. You must have the FOMO like a motherfucker.
That's it. I don't have the fear of missing out. I get it afterwards. I get it. It's like, oh shit, that would have been cool to be at, you know. So
I can tell you about the blowjob. You know what I mean? I could tell you how good it was.
Just can't experience it.
Yeah, that makes me the type of guy that I'll go get 2 blowjobs and then I'll come back and give you 1.
Oh,
I'll be like, yeah, this is great. This is great. Hey, Paul, I learned a lot.
This is how great it was. Let me show you how this was.
I learned a lot last night.
That's it, man. Well, hopefully we can. This is like the NorCal United. We got to get the podcast and we got to set it up where we can. We're gonna have to give each one of those guys a section. It's like, okay, Ugly, you got the first 15 minutes. Then Tim, you got the next 15 minutes. And then Ollie, you get the next 15 minutes. And then we got 15 minutes to close it out. Right. And we'll be real strict on the times. We'll give them we'll spin the pencil when it's getting ready. Time to wrap it up.
Flash the light.
There it is. The flashlight, the pencil, the glasses. Take the glasses off. That's the go home signal.
Yeah, well, that's the cool thing about like recording this stuff is, you know, we keep talking about it, and we're gonna keep doing this until, you know, as the subscribers go up and the money in the bank or whatever you want to say. I mean, eventually it's all practice, right? It's all good and fun. We enjoy doing this. So as we get down the road and the production and we figure this thing out and the shorts and the reels, we'll be able to film an hour with each one of somebody like that and then break it all down into one episode that mixes in with each other. So that's the part of it. Paul, what do you, anything you got coming up? I know we got Last Man Standing February 21st at the Orville Convention Center, and then we're going to be seeing you
the weekend after at Boomtown.
Back to Boomtown.
Just right there.
Boom.
At the Boomtown, yeah.
Bang to mention Doc Haywood on the show. Bang, Diamond Dallas Page. Oh.
That's right. You gotta get your stretch in, get the power cuffs on, get ready to roll, man.
For Zack Primetime Reeb and the Wrecking Ball Paul Isadora, take it easy. And if it's not easy, take it twice. I mean, we're going over.